why just request Abishag the Shunammite for him? Since he is my older brother, you should also request the kingdom for him. For Abiathar the priest, and for Joab son of Zeruiah, King Solomon then swore an oath, by the Lord, may God judge me severely, if Adonijah does not pay for this request with his life. Well, it's not obvious. He's asking for a wife. Abishag, we know, was very beautiful. She was the virgin who kept David warm in his the final period of his life, 1 Kings 1. By asking to have Abishag as his wife, he's making an implicit claim to the throne. He's connecting himself even more strongly with his father, particularly because he is the older son. And often in the Bible, the older is not the one who's blessed, it's the younger. And so this is a political move, and he pays with his life. And thus we see that David's sons are dead. He's lost his son Amnon, who was killed by Absalom after raping Tamar. He's lost Avishalom or Absalom. He's lost Adonijah as well. Well, David's already dead when Adonijah passes on. But just to think that in David's own family, 3 of his sons paid for their sin with their lives is just a small part of the painful legacy that sin leaves us when we do wrong. Let's sum up. Joab was a great man, great in military prowess, and also great in personal revenge. But he was not a spiritual man. We respect him, but we do not like him. Absalom, he was political. He was smooth. He was likable. Yet he too gives in to revenge. We like him, but we don't respect him. Kind of the opposite of Joab. We respect Joab, but we don't like him very much. Absalom is very likable, but it's hard to respect. And then Adonijah, who's really an opportunist. And he's not the brightest of David's sons. Twice he plots for the throne, grossly miscalculating. Let's end as normal with some of the lessons that we are to learn about God. And there are 2 that I would like to emphasize before we close. Number 1, God has placed us in a moral world. That means that our sin has ripple effects. Our sin affects large numbers of those with whom we are connected. And it begins in our own household, begins in our own family, and it spreads out from there. And why is this? Because God has placed us in a moral world. Secondly, God's choice of leader is often the one we would least expect. I mean, think of David, the youngest of his brothers. Solomon was chosen. I mean, in one sense, he shouldn't even have been born. He's born because David marries Bathsheba, and that happens because David murders her husband Uriah. Solomon is the younger brother anyway. Adonijah is the older brother. Well, but God's providence overrides human sin. This point is that God's choice of leader is often the one we would least expect. There are many examples where the younger is promoted over the older. From Genesis on, it's a common theme. Consider, for example, how often God gives the blessing, or the patriarch gives his blessing not to the firstborn, but to a younger brother.